Shout out to all of you who are still here. Today we got an individual who goes by the name of Chinese Historian who is doing a semi-reaction video to the Tucker Carlson interview with Nick Fuentes, in which he basically deducted a similar conclusion that I did. And that conclusion, yeah, it's on the upper left-hand side, as you can see. BBC has radicalized white men and all this happy horse stuff. Well, let's see how much this guy can cook. And by cooking, I'm not just talking about hot pot neither.
Alright, what is up, folks? So I'm giving you guys a massive trigger warning to start this video. Yeah, I'm bringing back this topic. Does this even fit in the screen? Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about how BBC has radicalized young men. And yes, I did watch the infamous Tucker Carlson and the Nick Fuentes interview. I was in the middle of eating my dog dinner and the Bo's penis, but I stopped all of that just to watch the Tucker Carlson and the Nick Fuentes interview that was promised to me 3,000 years ago.
Yes, sir.
This is a serious problem. I've talked about this so much. I've talked a lot about the rise of the dramatic rise of LGBTQ. Yes, and to all the white men who are watching this right now, you don't think this is a huge problem? Like, I'm talking about, at least 8 inches, right? Sometimes 9, 10, 11, 12 inches. And honestly, I did believe at one point, I think, in America, in Canada, in Europe, Australia, at one point, the overall racism in these countries, it was going down. Until a certain point,
yes.
Maybe late 1990s to early 2000s. So it's gone down, now it's gone up like this. Now I believe, the level of xenophobia, of racism and discrimination is at an all-time high. It's just a lot of people, they don't want to talk about these things because they're afraid of being called a racist or being labeled as a white supremacist. They're worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about getting expelled from school. Yeah, and it is turning a lot of men gay. By the way, a lot of people have been asking me about Nick Fuentes during past videos. I think I made my opinions pretty clear. I don't think Nick Fuentes should be banned from any platforms. He should have the right to say whatever he feels like, but I certainly don't agree with him. But once again, right, so you have to look at it like this. I talk about Candace Owens a lot, so I lost a lot of respect for Candace when I found out that, she talks a lot about, the black community. So, we have these issues in the inner cities, black on black crime, gang activities. She talks about a lot of good things. And I found out that, yeah, she was actually, unfortunately, a victim of a racially motivated hate attack from when she was back in high school. And she actually sued the school, and she actually won that lawsuit, and she was awarded, I don't know how much, it was a significant sum of money. So you were literally the victim of a white supremacist attack, but then you got on your knees for a super rich white man. So, well, good for Candace. At least you're set for life. So, yeah, I did say, right, so you'll never...
That story is true, by the way.
Never ever find another person or anywhere in this world you will agree with this person on 100% of their viewpoints. Like I said, I certainly don't agree with a lot of Candace Owens' talking points, but now there's one point I absolutely do agree is that yeah, Michael Jackson, he's an innocent man, and I made that very, very clear. So yeah, Nick Fuentes, I said before, I mean, he's quarter Mexican, and I said why he's a 27-year-old, he's not looking to get married or have children. He's talking about the white population decreasing. I mean, he's not even a pure Aryan race. So Nick Fuentes is 1/4 Mexican. And yeah, I just found out.
And what is the other 3/4? And first of all, I thought he was half Mexican. But from my understanding, he was half Mexican, or he is half Mexican and half Sicilian. Which, I mean, let's be honest. Between those two groups of people, that isn't exactly the Aryan kind of right or white that a lot of the conservatives are talking about preserving or wanting to preserve.
From Tucker's interview, and Nick Fuentes has also said that he's a huge fan of Joseph Stalin. Well, I've said a lot about Joseph Stalin during my full-length 2 hours and 39 minutes monologue, so obviously it was expected that the monologue triggered a lot of people because, well, I said nothing but the truth, but a lot of people, they just simply can't handle it. And yeah, I talk about so a lot of the issues with white culture. I didn't know about this as well. So Nick Fuentes, he talks about this, anti-weed movement is absolutely terrible for young men. And so for the first part of my monologue, the first half, the first 1 hour and 26 minutes, I talk a lot about white culture, the fall of white society. Yeah, I covered this in passing videos and live streams, and yeah, the weed thing. What was Justin Trudeau's agenda other than bringing, millions and millions of young military-aged men over to Canada from India? Also, yeah, that was his agenda. That was the campaign that he promised every single Canadian. I'm going to legalize marijuana throughout the country. And I still remember that day, October 2018. All these white boys, these 18, 19, 20-year-olds at Georgia College, they were like, yes, yes, yes. Oh, Justin Trudeau, you're our God. See, this is what happens when you're secular. This is what happens when you don't believe in God. Because if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in nothing. If you don't believe in God, you believe in anything. Well, in this case, you believe in Justin Trudeau, and you believe clearly in the BBC because, yeah, listen, smoking weed is terrible for you. The vast majority of the time, it makes you extremely lazy. It makes you extremely unmotivated. I've seen this so much. I've been to these parties. I said, right, if you watch my full-length 2 hours and 39-minute monologue. So, yeah, these white people, they just, in the evenings and weekends, they go to these parties. They get absolutely stoned out of their mind. Then they just don't care about anything. They're more than happy to piss their life away. And, yeah, that's 90% of the time. What happens the other 10% of the time? Yeah.
And tell me this. You supposedly rule the world. You supposedly have the rest of the world at your feet. The women worship you, and you, instead of enjoying heaven on earth, would rather get stoned out of your mind. I'm not saying all the white people do. No, that's definitely not the case. But I'm talking about the stoners out there. Why do you decide to get high instead of enjoying heaven on earth? Or if you were born, like myself, lower middle class, working class, and you don't really have access, then why aren't you using your whiteness to gain that access? Trust me. There are plenty of white people who have used it, and in many cases, not all, but well, I'll say this, in plenty of cases, have used it without stepping on the necks of other minorities or of other people in order to get ahead in life. It's just use their advantage. And there's nothing wrong with using an advantage. I'll say here, you want to use your advantage as long as you're not harming others, that's one thing. That's fine by me. I've documented white dudes who've been in Japan and are all of a sudden part-time models and full-time students, part-time models, and part-time, just running through chicks. I'm just going to say that. And to be fair, these individuals did not crap on other men, especially black men, because we all know how some other people do that. But in any case, if you're one of those lower middle income whites who don't have that position in life, why aren't you using that to get ahead so you can live heaven on earth?
Yeah, it does cause illusions. It causes psychosis, and in some cases, these people get extremely violent. Have you guys noticed something? Okay, I did mention, yes, there are a lot of problems in the black community in inner cities, gang activities, black on black crime. But however, there's one fact that you cannot dispute. Yeah, the vast majority of these serial mass killers in the United States, right? And once again, I'm not talking about some random isolated incident where one guy gets shot at a bar. I'm talking about mass shootings, right? The vast majority of the time, the perpetrator is a white male, and
the Asian too brought up statistics. Did he bring up statistics? Oh, well, I mean, he's good at math. He's good at math. What do you expect?
If you guys actually go down this rabbit hole a little bit, dig a little bit deeper, yeah, the vast majority of them, they're intravenous drug users. Not necessarily marijuana. I'm talking about, antidepressants. I'm talking about, they're getting destroyed by big pharma.
And as I said, if you are the number one desired male, why do you need to use antidepressants? Well, there's a chemical imbalance and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, still, why? Well, what are you depressed about? What are you so freaking depressed about?
Cocaine, heroin, meth, fentanyl, they're all kinds of...
Wow, those are hard drugs too. Dude, if I was a white man, look at me. I mean, I'm not the blackest guy, but I'm still, at least in America, considered black. Whatever that's supposed to mean. But in any case, you don't see me wallowing in drugs just because I'm not considered white or I'm considered part of the lower caste in the United States of America. Why would I, especially if I was white, touch any drugs whatsoever, even marijuana, like I said earlier? Why would I use that in order just to kill time where I could be killing some buns? I could be killing seeing some assets and killing some buns. That's what I get high over. And trust me, if I was white, trust me, don't ask me about my body count if I was white.
For prescription drugs. And I mentioned that
I would treat it like Pokemon. You gotta catch them all. And by catching them.
this is so important. If you guys actually went back and watched my 47-minute video on China's century of humiliation, China was 100% destroyed by drugs. It was destroyed by the 2 opium wars. That is why in China, you cannot even find not even 0.00001 milligram of weed anywhere in China. There's no cocaine, there's no heroin, there's no fentanyl. Yeah, just go ahead and try. Try to smuggle drug into China, because you know what happens? If you're caught with drug trafficking in China, okay, it is guaranteed death. Okay, death penalty, guaranteed. No drugs in China. Yes, obviously China has a lot of problems I talked about. The Chinese guys, well, I think that's the reason why they smoke their brains out, right? 80%, I would say, certainly of the Chinese male population, they smokes probably 1 out of 3, maybe 30 to 40% of Chinese men, they smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day. Terrible for you. And listen, it causes erectile dysfunction. I'm telling you, man, that's why so many of these young men are so depressed. And also, it makes your penis shrink. Okay, it's going to decrease the blood flow to your third leg. That's why, you know, a lot of Chinese guys, yeah, they're like this. That's their third leg. So, I'm telling you, man. So I've seen over 20,000 Chinese penises at these public communal showers. This is what happens when you smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So smoking is also what happens, right? I said your racism at one point it was going down like this. Now it's going up like this. And please stop playing the victim card. Right? The number one problem in your life is you, because what's happened is, especially the racism between white men and black men, it's gotten so bad. Well, these white men, yeah, after a hard day of work, right? Let's say, you know, they work the morning shift like 7 to 3:30, and they get home and they take a shower. Now they're nice and clean, they're relaxed. Maybe it's 4:30 in the afternoon, and they order some pizza online. They open up a can of beer, they light up a joint of weed, and they're stoned out of their mind. Then they turn on their computer, they turn on their MacBook, they turn on their iPad or their smartphone, and they go to these websites and they watch videos of, you know, Dredd, Mandigo, Shin Diesel, Jason Love, Richard Mann, and they watch these sweet.
How is he naming all of the BBC porn stars? I'm wondering. Either that or he did some damn good research. He knows these stars better than some of these white dudes. These what is it? What's it? The Gooners. These Gooners and these Gripers. The Gooners and Gripers can't name as many BBC stars as this dude did.
Innocent white girls. Girls like Alina Koshka, girls like Ali Ray, girls like Spring Thomas, girls like Tori Black, and they're watching these sweet little innocent little white girls getting absolutely destroyed, getting absolutely impaled like this. So you don't think that makes these white men extremely...
And he did the same thing with the chicks. Now the Gripers and Gooners, they can probably name most of those chicks, but...
angry? And yeah, you guys can deny it all you want, okay? How come when I'm mentioning all these names of these actors and actresses, how come you guys know all these names? And also, yeah, it's led to a dramatic rise of, the LGBTQ movement. Because think about what happens when you're watching, let's say, Jason Love and Ali Ray going at it, right? So are you attracted to Ali Ray or are you attracted to Jason Love and this thing, right? So a lot of men, they don't even realize. And by the way, people start this movement very, very young. A lot of people, they get addicted on their iPads, on their iPhones at the age of, 12, could be earlier, could be 11, could be 10. I'm talking about, pre-puberty. And what happens, do you think, let's say you start watching this at age of 10, a couple years later, at age of 12, as you're going through puberty, you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm not actually attracted to Mia Makova. Maybe I'm not actually attracted to Emily Willis. Actually, I'm really attracted to Mandigo. Maybe I'm actually attracted to Shin Diesel. Maybe I swing the other way around as they're looking at this. So it's turning a lot of these young white men gay. I'm telling you, that is exactly what's happening. And even if it doesn't turn you gay, obviously it's going to radicalize a lot of these young men. Imagine, if you're a below average, below par looking white man, I did cover white privilege, but there are also a lot of really, really ugly white men out there with absolutely zero hope. You're struggling to get a girl to talk to you, you can't get a date, your life is absolutely miserable, you're incel, and after work you just open up a can of beer, you start to smoking weed, a little bit of cocaine, a little bit of heroin, and you're watching these beautiful little white girls getting absolutely stretched out by this thing. Of course it's going to make these white men extremely, extremely racist. And yeah, that's why I said, racism, it was actually going down in the 1990s, in the early 2000s, and now it's going up like this. I'm just telling you, the vast majority of white men, they absolutely hate black men now. Yeah, the BBC movement has completely radicalized these young white men. And
he said that, not me.
Yes, I do believe that a massive civil war is coming to all Western countries. Oh, and please, cut with the crap. Stop blaming, this is actually because of Zionism. Oh, this is because of some maybe you're trying to blame this on Rabbi Shmuley. By the way, I watched that interview.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because and he's going to talk about the interview in a second. But yeah, let's be honest. A lot of the alt-right, when they can't blame anyone else, when they can't blame the BBC, when they can't blame immigrants, when they can't blame these feminist groups, because all these groups either have not as much power, or in the case of the BBC, they stripped all the power away. Then they go to the Zionists. Not even the Zionists, because in a way, some of them actually agree with the Zionists, at least when it comes to getting rid of certain other... I gotta censor myself here. I forgot. We're on YouTube. But yeah, some of the alt-righters actually calling out the Zionists. Anyway, they love to blame the Jews. They love to blame Jews because apparently the Jews actually, did what they had to do in order to gain enough power so they won't be messed with again. So, but all of a sudden now it's like, they want mixing. It's the Jews who want the mixing. Anyway.
So who was it hosted by? Yeah, Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan hosted that debate between Candace Owens and Rabbi Shmuley. I will have to say this. If Rabbi Shmuley, if he's actually a comedian, if he's trolling, then I have to say that he's absolutely hilarious. If he's actually trying to troll people, if he's actually trying to troll Candace Owens, I would say that guy's trolling skills is 100% legendary. But yeah, Rabbi Shmuley aside, okay? Stop blaming this on other people. The number one problem in your life is you. The reason why you recognize all of the names I have mentioned, the reason why you know about this BBC movement, and the reason why a lot of you guys are getting angry at me right now is because it is 100% true. You are choosing to do this, okay? You're choosing to go on the internet to watch this, okay? I didn't force you to do it. In fact, I'm telling you the exact opposite right now. I'm telling you to get off this stuff, okay? And also to the Chinese guys, yes, there's no drugs in China, but cut back on the cigarettes, okay? I understand life can be extremely stressful, but I mean, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day? Are you serious, man? Can you at least reduce it to maybe 1 in the morning before your shift, and maybe, one during your lunch break at work, maybe another one during your 15-minute break, then maybe 1 after work, and then maybe 1 before you go to bed. Maybe, instead of smoking 60 cigarettes a day, cut it down to like 5 cigarettes a day. Because, yeah, if you continue to smoke, 60 cigarettes a day, like so many of these young Chinese men are doing, instead of, getting this, you will get this. I'm telling you, man, that the SAD thing for Asian men is real. What is SAD? SAD. Yeah, small Asian dick. It's because, yeah, they're smoking their brains out. And also to all the white men, right? You keep saying that, this is all BS white guilt. White people don't have any money at all. It's the Asians who are actually wealthier than us. So, I'm just telling you, okay? I will come back to the topic, by the way, that monologue. So I split into two parts, 2 hours and 39 minutes in total. Actually, there's going to be one more talking point that needs to be added on. I want to talk about China's economic miracle and why white and Asians live longer than blacks and Hispanics. I want to talk about the bankers as well. I know why I say the bankers. It's not what you guys think. It's very important. So I will conclude that video using the blackboard in November. It's also very important. Why do you think just though the average Asian American has more wealth than the average white American?
All right, so I'm not gonna play the entire thing. I think I've gone long enough. Yeah, he's pretty much on point, and he didn't go as hard as I thought he would, but he went hard enough to say that, hey, look, a lot of this hate that a lot of, well, not all, but a good amount of certain men have against another group of men is, well, it's because of sexual envy. And the problem is that a lot of these guys have not touched grass, have not interacted with the average black man, and have not interacted with, well, they just haven't interacted with people in general. Because, quite frankly, if you would have interacted with the average black man, you would realize the average black man barely can get any boon. They barely can, at least not without playing a role. Because, let's be honest, why do we have so many black male simps? This channel has shown plenty of examples of that. Why do we have so many black male incels? Or just black males who are just invisible. Maybe not incels, but just who are barely struggling. We've seen plenty of examples of that. And plenty of black men who do not fit the Mandango stereotype. I know I'm Mr. Light-Skin Supremacy here, but let's be honest. No one, a lot of Beckys, a lot of probably those chicks that he named in the video, aren't looking at me with and assuming that I probably have the biggest BBC out there. I mean, maybe big enough, but I mean, it's not. It isn't the biggest, so it's like, yeah, getting with me is like getting with a freaking Arab or tan Latino or something like that, or a Bollywood Indian dude. It's like, okay, all right, you're alright, but it's like I want BBC. Let's not get started. Let's not get started because a lot of chicks who do go black, they don't want peanut butter. They want chocolate. Let's just say that. But yeah, this guy really just explained it, quite frankly, to you guys about what's the obsession or the reason behind the obsession. And a lot of these incelians, I'm not going to say all the white dudes, but just the ones who don't touch grass, the ones who usually listen to Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes unironically in their ilk, especially now since Charlie Luther Kirk is no longer with us. So they have more of a stranglehold on that audience and more of an influence. And those guys are going to touch grass a lot less because at the very least, when it came to Charlie Luther Kirk, he made the alt-righters go outside just to watch the spectacle of chosen leftists, the worst of leftists, the ones who can't hold a candle when it comes to debating, debate someone who has decent debating skills, but a lot of which was just a lot of deflections and a lot of nitpicking and some ad hominems. Anyway, I believe that we're also headed to civil unrest. But for all of you out there who knows what time it is, get ready. And when that time comes, take action. And by taking action, I mean getting out of Dodge. So everyone else out there, the same everyone else I talk to, always bet on X.